The U.S. Senate race between Kay Hagan and Thom Tillis is in the national spotlight, already shaping up to be one of the most expensive Senate races in the country.
Yeah, both candidates are bringing in big names to help them with the win. That includes Senator John McCain, who is in our area supporting Thom Tillis. Appreciate the time, Senator. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you. I'm told that it may be the most expensive Senate race in history.
Yeah, and you're looking at what, $100 million. I mean, that's a lot of money, but this seat is so important. Discuss the importance of the win here for the Republicans.
Well, the majority in the United States Senate could rest on this race. It's clear that Republicans, we have 4 or 5 seats. We need 6. And if you believe all the pollsters, then this and probably Georgia, Louisiana, New Hampshire also plays in it. But obviously, they don't spend their money here and the most anywhere if it wasn't really one of the most crucial races.
So you're here in North Carolina to support House Speaker Thom Tillis, who is running for U.S. Senate. Tell us why you're here to support Mr. Tillis.
Well, I think he has the background and knowledge and experience, both as a Speaker of the legislature. I think he has a background that makes him well qualified, and very frankly, he will not be a rubber stamp for Barack Obama, and that's what Kay Hagan has been. I serve on the Armed Services Committee with her. I have watched this nation's national security become more and more in jeopardy. For example, those of us that argued that we leave a residual force behind in Iraq, she supported pulling everybody out. And then, of course, she may find fundraisers more important than important hearings. She voted in order to blow up the Senate and this nuclear option, which I'm sure that most of our viewers are not interested in, but it really was a sea change in the United States Senate. So she voted with Barack Obama 97% of the time. I don't think that that's what people want, certainly not the people of my home state.
So when you talk about Kay Hagan, and certainly you have knowledge in the same committee, you know, Armed Services, you know, missing meetings, the importance now certainly with what's going on overseas and ISIS. Discuss, you know, what goes on in a typical meeting and the importance of being there.
Well, Senator Hagan has said that, well, she catches up with other briefings and information. Look, we have these hearings so you can look those witnesses in the eye, from the generals and the Secretary of Defense and others, and so you can find out exactly what we're doing, particularly in this case where they're pursuing a failed policy, which has put the lives of Americans in more and more jeopardy. Look, we had a battle called the Battle of Fallujah. We won that battle, and now the black flags of ISIS fly over the city of Fallujah. And we lost 86 killed, soldiers and Marines, several hundred wounded. Kay Hagan supported that policy of pulling everybody out. But the hearings, you need to have them so you can not only ask your own questions, but hear the questions and comments of other members of the Senate. And you can't make up for it. And I don't think, frankly, going to a fundraiser is exactly what the people of North Carolina wanted.
Now, that is one thing that she has said. She missed one because she was at a campaign fundraiser. Yeah, and the numbers, you know, that we have, out of 22 of the public meetings, she missed 13 of those. The average committee member, according to some sources, missed an average of 9. So she did miss more than average. However,
she missed a lot. Yeah.
Is it that significant, or is this something that's being put into a political spin to make Hagan look bad?
Look, there's spin in everything, but given the world and the turmoil that it's in today, and this march of ISIS and Hong Kong and Iran and all of the terrible, the world is in more turmoil than at any time in my lifetime. It seems to me that a serious senator would have that as his or her highest priorities. That's just my viewpoint. Maybe others disagree, but I've been watching the world for a long time, and when we watch Americans being beheaded, the gruesome, hideous beheadings of Americans, I think that should have maybe given her some sense of priority.
And when you talk about control of the Senate, obviously it's a big deal, to get votes that you want to, have taken here and get those, taken. Where does that stand? The importance of Tillis getting in there, importance of winning these races for the Republican Party, and going towards getting things done, such as taking on ISIS, maybe in a more strong, more forceful action.
Well, as you know, this legislative session is the least productive Congress in history. That's because Harry Reid would block everything, any initiative, whether it be the XL pipeline or whether it be any other issue. He would just block any parliamentary, any legislative action. And so, obviously, Senator Hagan supported that. I don't think that's the right way for the Senate to function. The House passed a couple of hundred bills, so they sent over to the Senate, and they died there. That's not the way that, listen, I am looking forward to participating on November the 5th in Harry Reid's retirement party. So it's just that we need to get the Congress functioning again and moving again. And the key to the majority is you decide on what the hearings are. We never had a hearing on Benghazi in the United States Senate or the IRS. And so you set the agenda, you have the hearings, and you bring legislation to the floor. That is the key, the most important aspect of a majority in the Senate. And we need it. And by the way, in a perverse sort of way, if we control both houses, it is more likely we would have negotiations, meaningful negotiations with President Obama if we only controlled one. Nobody argues we're going to keep the House of Representatives.
So let's talk about the election then. It's the numbers here in North Carolina have been so close, back and forth this whole season, and we have a third-party candidate here who is looking like he could make a significant difference in the numbers. He's coming out to as many as 5 to 7% in the polls, drawing from both sides. So how does Thom Tillis draw back those voters?
One of the things we usually see in elections is the third-party candidate, that number shrinks over time because people begin to understand that votes for that candidate really isn't going to elect that third-party candidate. So we hope, listen, this is a very tight race, as you said. We may be up very late on election night, and we can't take anything for granted, and I think it's all going to come down to voter turnout. But the third-party candidates, traditionally, that number shrinks. And we believe that Thom Tillis can get the majority of those votes. But again, to take anything for granted in a race like this, where again, it's unheard of amounts of money. Do any of our viewers, have you seen anything on television besides a political hit piece?
Yeah. Right.
And you've been in politics for so long.
Since the Coolidge administration.
Since the Coolidge administration, yeah, a long time. When you see these ads, and I know that's the way it's turned, these negative ads, the PACs putting in money and all this stuff, and some of the candidates, we had Thom Tillis here the other day saying, hey, I'm not responsible. I don't know who's actually funding this ad. Where do you come out on that?
I think it's terrible. I think there will be a scandal because so much of this money, we don't know where it came from. And that's not right. There should be complete transparency of where the money came from, who gave it, and what it's used for. And unfortunately, because of a United States Supreme Court decision, all this dark money, as we call it, is flowing in. And you'll hear all these complaints about the Koch brothers, okay? Do you know where most of the money is coming from? The unions and other liberal billionaires, not so much the Koch brothers. That's why Thom Tillis was outspent 2 and 3 to 1 for a long time. All this outside money came in from supporters of
George
Hagan,
Soros.
not for Tillis.
Surely, though, as a candidate, if you see an ad, your face is on there, your name is on there, you disagree with the message, a phone call, a message from the campaign saying, hey, we don't like this, would have to go far. Doesn't it seem?
So,
it seems like a little bit of a cop-out to say it's not our money, we're not putting this on TV.
I agree, Paige, but sometimes they don't even, the candidate doesn't know where it came from. Paid for by friends of labor, or
but is
whatever
it easier
it is,
to look the other way? Senator, is it easier to look the other way and that kind of like I don't know?
Look, I think it's easy to look the other way, but you can't say for the group who's supporting you not to do it when other groups are supporting your opponent. I mean, you just can't give your opponent that kind of advantage. I still believe that one of the reasons why this race is as close as it is, for months, Tom Tillis was outspent by Hagan 3-1, and now it's still about 2-1. And as you know, the station, most of that are negative ads. Look, I believe that Tom will be a key player. He has the legislative experience and background. He was Speaker of the House here in North Carolina. He understands the things that we need to do, including tax reform, including the XL pipeline, including getting an agenda forward. We Republicans, if we get the majority, if we want to win the 2016 election, we'd better have some legislative products to show the American people that we can govern. Tom knows how to govern.
So you've been in the U.S. Senate since 1986. If Tom Tillis does win on Tuesday heading into this election, if he comes out the victor, what advice do you have for him? What challenges is he going to face?
I hope that Tom would be, well, of course, he's a close partner of Richard Burr. Richard Burr would be chairman of the Intelligence Committee, which is, he's the best at that. And I would hope that he would want to come on the Senate Armed Services Committee. North Carolina is full of veterans. They are full of military bases. They are full of active duty military bases. National security is a huge issue here in North Carolina. So I would encourage him to come on the Armed Services Committee, and I would be proud to serve with him.
Senator John McCain, really appreciate the time. Thank you so much
Thanks
for
having me on.
Thank you very much. We do want to point out we did reach out to Kay Hagan's campaign for an interview as well, and we are still just waiting to hear back.
And remember, you can get the very latest on this and pretty much all things politics anytime. MyFoxCarolinas.com.